Well, hello, this is Kelly Walsh from EmergingEdTech.com, and I'm excited today to share an emerging technology that leverages a educational and professional development construct that is centuries old, but brings it screaming forward into 2020 and beyond. And today we're talking with Gary Gray, and Gary's an award-winning composer, singer, songwriter. He's a voting member of the Grammy Recording Academy, a producer, multi-instrumentalist, arranger, orchestrator. Gary's also a recording, mixing, and mastering engineer, and the author of the Home Studio Bible. So Gary is a very busy man with a lot of interests. Gary's also a mentor, and that's something I'm very grateful for because I have the pleasure of being part of a growing group of musicians that Gary's been mentoring for some time now, just out of the kindness of his heart and giving of his own time. And extending on that idea of mentoring, Gary's a big believer in the apprenticeship. So the apprenticeship has been one of these educational constructs that has existed for probably millennia. Today, in these modern times, I think we think of that sort of thing mostly in the context of the trades, perhaps electricians and that kind of thing. But it can lend itself to, all areas of professional discipline. And Gary's actually extended this powerful educational and professional development practice above and beyond the historic approach to allow not only the individual being apprenticed to, first of all, to be apprenticed from anywhere in the world. The apprentice and the professional doing the apprenticing can be anywhere in the world within the constraints of internet access. But on top of that, he's extended it even further to allow people who want to learn by simply watching the apprenticeship in action and sort of a fly-on-the-wall sort of approach to be able to do so. So really, really interesting idea. And he's preparing to make this technology available next year. And I thought it would be a great thing to talk about and share with the Emerging EdTech audience. So welcome, Gary. Thank you so much for giving us your time. You're obviously a very busy man. Tell us a little about how you got started with this fly-on-the-wall apprentice concept.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Kelly. I really appreciate what you're doing. And I just want those people watching this to know that Kelly himself is, he just gave me all those accolades, but I have to balance it back in his direction here to begin, which is Kelly has been singled out more than once for years now as one of the top in his field at what he does in the field of education, technology, and being a pioneer in ways of bringing to you what he does. And he's like just one of these Elon Musks of his field. And I just want to say thank you, Kelly, for what you do.
Well, thank you. Thank you for those kind words.
Yeah, and when I say that, I mean things like the Huffington Post and other international respected, publications and entities that have awarded Kelly to be among the tops of what he does in the country and in the world. So I'm humbled and I'm very thankful to have this opportunity. So to answer your question, so how I got started on this Fly on the Wall Apprentice. So that's the name of the website. It's flyonthewallapprenticed.com. So a quick background that brings us right up here to 2020 and into 2021. As I was growing up, I have to pinch myself because I've been very, very fortunate in having been mentored and apprenticed myself by legendary names. Amongst those being Quincy Jones, who's now become a friend. We go up there every Christmas Eve. He's been mentoring and apprenticing me for some years now, and that in itself is a fascinating story. But I've learned so much from that apprenticeship and that mentorship. Also, Phil Collins. There's Phil Spector. There is one of the key apprenticeships that I had in my life was when I was 21, and I was apprenticed by Ramnad Raghavan. Ramnad Raghavan was one of the top mridangam players. It's a drum that you sit down on the floor and you play. It's an Eastern Indian instrument from the Carnatic discipline of music. That's the southern portion of India, which, as you know, there's a mountain range through the middle of India, and so the westernized music came halfway down and stopped. And if you know the history of Indian music, the southern Indian music is Carnatic, and that music goes back more than 2,500 years and is incredibly disciplined and is based solely on a very interesting concept of apprenticeships. So I had a guru at 21 years old, and it's really helped form a lot of my life viewpoint and my outlook on life itself, because that's what happens when you get this type of an apprenticeship. And so to give that background, I think is important, because I've had both Western and Eastern approaches to teaching as a student. And, I've been in universities, etc., and on the road, and, where you pick up all kinds of lives as a musician and in other fields. The other area I was apprenticed in quite extensively was in construction. I can do all trades, and I've been with masters of what they do. And their apprenticeships are just built into the fabric of that particular part of life. Like if you're going to build something with your hands, there's no two ways about whether that product was correctly built or not. And if you're teaching somebody how to do it and you've done less than good job of teaching and apprenticing that student, it shows up in the product immediately. Mm-hmm. As in, like, was this chair built correctly? Does it sit on the floor right? Like construction. Mm-hmm. I was in the field of electrical and drywall and framing and all fields of construction. So apprenticeships, this is where I stand on Apprenticeships 2020. Overall, in our culture on this planet, apprenticeships seem to have become a bit of a lost art. And it's touching every discipline, in my view, and from my research. I do extensive research. Like in my field, I've done well over 12,000 hours of research just on the difference between analog and digital recording, mixing, and mastering in the field of music. And I've become kind of a go-to mentor in my field, and I have this niche in the music industry where I'm known as kind of blowing open these myths and brainwashing that can occur in the field that I'm involved in on a daily basis. I do work for 20th Century Fox, the Disney Music Group. I teach people how to create radio-ready broadcast quality recordings from their homes, because that's what I do. I do work for major entities in the music industry, in the film industry, right out of my home studio. The backdrop you see is what I'm looking at right now. This is my little home studio. It's a 12 by 12 bedroom, literally. That's where I work. And so I show people how they can do it. In fact, as part of this call, and just as a side note, but Kelly is an amazing musician himself. That's how we met. And then I found out more about what he does in the world of education. And I'm going to demonstrate to you this fly-on-the-wall apprentice, like the actual process. You're going to see it and hear it in just a moment with Kelly's music. So he's an amazing songwriter, singer, instrumentalist, and so just wanted to give you that little plug there, Kelly. I think you deserve it. So,
and believe me, increasing that quality and getting better and better at it is largely because of folks like yourself who are willing to help us learn.
No, you're welcome. So now come up, fast forward to how did this Fly-on-the-Wall Apprentice website get going? How did this technology occur? It was totally by accident. And the only way I can explain it to you is to show you. So I'm going to share my screen right now and explain while I'm showing to you how it works. And I think that'll be the most effective way. The first screen I'm going to share is the website itself, so you'll just get an idea of that. So hopefully, do you see that on your screen now, Kelly?
Yep.
Okay, great. So here is Fly-on-the-Wall Apprentice, and it says, ever wish you could look over the shoulder of a pro mixer in action? And it says, now you can. And you can subscribe, and I'll just kind of slowly scroll down. And it says, listen, watch, learn. And here are some of the entities and corporations that I do work for. And it says, a revolutionary, life-changing approach to better mixing for anyone at any level, from Gary's home studio to yours. And then there's some testimonials here. Become an apprentice. And then there are some advanced services. So this whole concept and this whole construct came about as the result of an accident. And I'll show you how that happened. So if I stop sharing for a moment and then share a different screen, I've got two screens here today. We'll go to this screen. you should see my digital audio workstation. And so first I want to say this. The founding of this service of flyonthewallapprentice.com happens to cover the area of the music industry. The concept ultimately, starting in the spring of 2021, June 1st, 2021, will mark the end of my beta test and will mark the beginning of opening up Fly on the Wall Apprentice to other disciplines. That would include things like, here the imagination takes over. Race car drivers, scuba divers, chefs, any discipline you could think of, surgeons, etc. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually demonstrate this for you. And on this replay video that you'll hear, this is one of the services that I offer on apprenticing people. Now, I said it happened by accident. So let's just watch a typical session that may take place. And if for those of you who are not music savvy or don't know anything about creating music, and creating recordings, this might be fascinating for you because there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. These different color rectangles that you see here represent different instruments or different vocal, like singing tracks. And this is a song that I'm working on with Kelly, one of his songs. It's called Hand Me Your Heart, that I think he wrote for his wife. Is that correct, Kelly?
It is. That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna hit play, and before I do, here's the key part of this technology. There's a plugin made by a company called Audio Movers, called the Listen To plugin. So I log in, I start the transmission, I copy the link, and then I put that link into the chat window, which I'm going to do now. And I send it over to whoever is on the internet. So that would go to like my client, which in this case, let's just say that for the purposes of this demonstration. So Kelly's my client, so he's getting this Listen To link.
Yep, and I see it in the chat.
What it is just a link. It's a URL. It goes into the chat, and it's being streamed. And this is an incredible technology. And what I've done is I've leveraged this technology into a kind of revolutionary workflow where not only do I stream it to my client, but anyone who comes aboard for Fly on the Wall Apprentice, who's a part of that subscription series, they can come on board and watch me work with a paid client while I work at my job. And now we're going to cover a few key aspects of this whole technology and this workflow by showing you. Again, there's only so many things you can do to describe this whole experience and this journey in words. So now I'm going to test. So I'll make sure, what I'm going to do now is make sure I can see Kelly on my Zoom. So I'll take a look here.
Now, while you're doing that, I'll just kind of throw out some thoughts about using this in other industries. I could certainly imagine even take construction, for example, or anything where somebody is working on things. I could envision the idea of maybe somebody with a GoPro camera, walking around and streaming that to Zoom while they're apprenticing someone on the approach. And again, having this extra layer of somebody being the fly on the wall and watching that apprenticeship as it happens.
Absolutely. I mean, imagine if you're a surfer, right? And you have multiple angles with several different GoPro cameras, like on the board showing the feet and showing the body and the face and etc. It's pretty limitless in terms of, professions and disciplines where this. I'm so excited about, the second phase of this. But for now, we've got the first phase well underway. The beta test is like probably 5 months in advance of the deadlines that I set. So I'm about 5 months ahead of the game. This has been going flawlessly now for about 8 months. So it's actually gone much better than I thought. So here we go. I'm going to test this now. Kelly, do you have your Listen To link activated on your end? You getting a signal?
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
Okay. So if you could mute your mic when I hit play this time. Ready? Okay, here we go. So I'll just give maybe 15 or 20 seconds of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit play, and then I'm going to actually work a little bit on this mix, and you can watch me. And this is what some people will experience right now that actually come aboard as flies on the wall. So here we go.
You just like a glove. Your words can heal and your love can bite. When love fits, it gets a little bit tight.
So that gives you an idea of what can be done in terms of actually allowing someone to come aboard and watch the process of a professional working. And what I would be doing is I'd be talking back and forth with the client, with Kelly. Hey, Kelly, what do you want here? You know, oh, I want can you turn my vocals up a little bit more on that second line there when I sing this word, heart? Okay, good. And then I'll do it. And the fly on the wall can hear with pristine quality audio exactly what I'm doing. And so it brings a new whole paradigm to this whole concept of apprenticing. And the one thing I'd like those that are watching this or reading articles or blogs or whatever on this interview, one takeaway I'd like to have is something that I discovered by doing this whole beta test. And that is that the people that experience this, one for one, out of their mouth, almost word for word, comes this line, which is, it's better than being there. Mm-hmm. So now here's where I was lucky. For 8 months prior to the lockdown, which started in around March 14th, 2020. So 8 months previous to that, I started this research project, which was what could be the ultimate remote workflow system. Lucky for me, I had no idea the pandemic was coming. So I started to work with this Listen to plugin, et cetera, et cetera. And then here's what happened. And here's how Fly on the Wall was started and founded. Totally by accident. So I had several people, like Kelly's part of a mastermind that I do on Saturdays, where I teach a group of people through this, this particular system, where I actually do, so here's another application, Kelly, and Kelly's been a part of it, where we do question and answer. They just ask me right there. Like, I'm not working with a client, I'm actually teaching. So that's more mentorship, but then I slide in apprenticeship constantly. That's always my goal is always to apprentice people, because that's the lost art. And that's why I think in several disciplines in life we have imperfect products, imperfect services. We have frustrations among the world culture because of that. There are some standout people that are breaking away from that, which are using apprenticeships. Elon Musk, within his organization, uses the apprenticeship program. His products are incredible. There's this might sound funny, but Gillette has this, I shave, so Gillette has this 5 blade product that's an amazing product. And if you take it back, you'll see that there are apprenticeship programs in the technology of what they're presenting. So it always equals a excellent product or service at the end. So I was doing this mastermind. I was showing people, they were putting the Listen to link on. And what happened was one day, 2 people just simultaneously in different parts of the world, since they were in Europe, and one was on the East Coast of the U.S., and I'm here in California, Southern California, about an hour south of Hollywood. we were done with the mastermind, and a few hours later, I went back in on the session and started working on it. And those two people were woken out of bed because they had left their computers on, and my work, my mixing, was broadcasting through their computer still.
Uh-huh.
And they both got up and they were trying to figure out what's going on.
Uh-huh.
How did the music all of a sudden start playing? And then they went to their studios, their home studios, and they found out that their link was still open. So they both went to kind of turn it off, and then they were kind of fascinated because they were listening to me mix. Now, this is without even seeing the visual on their screen because they were off of Zoom, but the listen to link was still on. They both sat there for like more than an hour in the middle of the night and then stayed till the end of my session. They sent me emails, both of these independent people, in the middle of the night. So I woke up myself. I got open my inbox. I looked, and there were 2 emails from people, and they were almost identical. They're like, hey, I listened to you mix last night. I learned more from that session, even though I couldn't see the screen, than I've learned from tutorials on YouTube for the last 3 months. This is amazing. And I went, bing, flying. That's where it was born, right there. I said, that's a service. This is amazing. And I was so excited. I'm getting chills right now. I call them truth bumps. And that launched flyonthewallapprentice.com. So that's kind of maybe a long-winded, but I think you could see that it was important for me to fill in all the puzzle pieces to bring you that answer.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you so much. So, being in the world of education, specifically higher education, we many programs, and most of our programs, if not all of them, require an internship or an externship as a way to step in this direction, right? To make sure that people are getting practical hands-on experience. But again, it's, and it can be very valuable depending upon how it's done and how it's overseen. But it's not quite to that level of the apprenticeship. So it's been very interesting for me to think about that in that context and how much more valuable it would be when in those circumstances, it's, there's a specific intent of not just having somebody learn something because they're there and they're doing work for you, but learn something because they're being specifically directed and educated, as they can also potentially, be helping and learning. So it's really a fascinating idea. It would be nice to see the apprenticeship expand, but, how wonderfully coincidental, there are some good things coming from this tremendous challenge we've all been faced with, that you'd already been stepping down this road. And now, just as we are in higher education, thinking about how are things later when things start to get back to normal, which God willing in 2021, we're going to see that. But we've learned some things here. We've experienced some things. And how can we leverage that? And this idea of, you can apprentice anybody anywhere in the world, with, maybe using some creative technology and taking a slightly different approach than before. And not only can you do that, but you can make this available to others to learn from and interact with. It's very exciting. So thank you so much for taking the time to share this with the Emerging EdTech audience. And we look forward to talking again come around June of next year when you're ready to launch this. And we'll let you demonstrate some more of the product that is set up to be used in a more generic sort of sense. And great stuff. Best of luck with it. Definitely a pioneering, innovative approach to what I like to call emerging education technology.
And thank you so much. And again, I just want to leave with this one anecdote that's actually part of some factual research that I've done. I had clients that came here to my studio and worked with me here. And because of the pandemic, they can now work only via this system. And as I said, now every one of those clients that were here working with me said, Gary, this is literally better than being there. Because look at this. While I'm doing my work, that person can be in their home. We can get twice as much work done. Because like if I say to Kelly during one of his sessions, hey, Kelly, can you re-sing that one part? Well, if he was here in my studio, I'd have to stop mixing. He'd have to sing and I'd have to set him up. But he can mix and he can record and mix his vocal in his studio while I'm mixing his song. We're getting twice as much done. And I'm checking in on him and he's checking in on me during the process. This is exactly what we did.
Yep.
And I can see, I can monitor the quality of what he's doing. He can check on what I'm doing, but we're getting twice as much done. But here's what's important. he can have his nose on the screen and watch exactly what I'm doing. Because I say, it's funny. How would you like to look over the shoulder of a pro in action? Well, when you're in person, the shoulder's in the way.
Yeah.
When you're using this technology, you have the full screen in front of you. And here's what's also important. I also give you the replay. So on their website are the replays.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I'm a big advocate of what's called flipped learning, which is now kind of skyrocketed, being forced upon educators in the pandemic situation. But that's one of the single biggest benefits is now you can go back and refer to this, record, rewind, replay anytime you want to review and cement learning.
Well, yeah, and then if you're interested, maybe at a future date, Kelly's also been exposed to several other areas that I've pioneered with like a critiquing system and some other things for education. But, each one of those is its own kind of a whole world and universe. Yeah,
absolutely. All right. Well, Gary, again, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to hearing more about flyonthewallapprentice.com in 2021 as you take it to the next level, or above and beyond, as we like to say.
Thank you, Kelly. I really appreciate this opportunity.
All right. Thanks so much.